Hi there, I am Swedish Bella, and today we are going to learn how to make Swedish Ikea meatballs. I get this question a lot. Do you make meatballs? I get called the Swedish meatball, and people ask me, how do you make Swedish Ikea meatballs? Because I know a lot of you go to Ikea to eat these amazing meatballs. So this is what we're going to be making today. So come on, let's do it. So for the meatballs, we will be using equal parts ground beef and ground pork. That makes the meatballs juicier, which we love. Not only that, we also going to be putting in 1 egg. We are also putting in half an onion, and I grate my onion because I don't like having onion chunks in my meatballs. And if you had the Ikea meatballs, you will also see that they're totally smooth. And we will also be using breadcrumbs. I'll be using panko breadcrumbs, but you can use whichever breadcrumbs you want. We will also be using garlic powder, pepper, and salt. Oh, and not to forget, I will also be putting a little bit of milk into the meat just to make it even more juicier. So let's do it. So let's start with the meat. I'm gonna be putting about half of each package, or else it's gonna be a lot of meatballs. Equal parts is usually what we do. This the cat can have. I'm just kidding. She's not gonna eat all of that. In goes 1 egg and the ground onion and the panko breadcrumbs. Let's do it. Whee! And the breadcrumbs are to keep everything together and married and juicy and amazing. Some garlic. You can either use a little bit or a lot depending on how much of the taste you want. You can also go with 1 clove. I'm just using the powder because it's easier. Some pepper. I'm not a big fan of pepper, but you need to put it in. Salt. I'm putting in quite a bit because this is sea salt, so it's not as salty as regular salt. And I have a splash of milk in there, a little bit more. Here we go. I'm lactose intolerant, so that's why I have lactose-free milk. And then we get our hands dirty, which I love. You can use like a machine like this for it as well, the KitchenAid, but I like to work with my hands, so that's what we're gonna be doing. See to that everything is mixed perfectly, so get all the taste and everything in there. Oh, it smells already so good. It's the garlic. Garlic makes just life better. So this is our meat for the meatballs, and next we're gonna be baking those balls, those little balls. So yeah, I'm just gonna get my hands washed and let's get in there. So now it's time to make the meatballs. I'm using a little spoon like this just to make them equal size, kind of. So when you put them in the pan, they just get done at the same time because you don't want some of them raw in the middle and some of them not. With the meatballs, we will be having mashed potatoes and the famous gravy that goes with it that you probably had at Ikea. Oh, and lingonberries. So it's going to be quite a feast. So yeah, I'm just gonna get these ready, and when I'm done, we're just gonna fry them up or put them in the pan. So it is time to put the meatballs in the pan, and what I'm doing is putting a generous amount of butter in there Yeah, and it goes. And some olive oil. And that is because I don't want the butter to burn. So that's why I have olive oil in as well. I mean, you gotta keep it healthy, right? And in here, I have potatoes going for the mashed potatoes. So they're simmering there and being cozy. Ooh, that's gonna be good. And this pan I have here is for the gravy that I'm gonna be making. Here are my beautiful meatballs. I'm gonna put these in a generous amount of butter. They're gonna learn how to swim. Ooh, it smells really good. I'm gonna lower it a little bit. So yeah, I'm just gonna get these going, and once they are done, they're gonna rest for a little bit, and we're gonna make the sauce, and we're gonna make the mashed potatoes. So stay tuned. So the meatballs are almost ready, and how I know is when you touch them, they're firm, not super firm, but kind of bouncy and not soft. You know, when you make them, they're soft, so if they weren't ready, I would feel them being very squishy. And they're not, but they're not like 100% through and through, because we are going to rest them a little bit. So that's why I didn't cook them like all the way through, because I don't want dry meatballs. That is not nice. It's not good. So here we have the meatballs just going to rest for a little bit. So I'm gonna put them over here, and what I'm also gonna do is the butter we have in here, I'm actually going to use it for the sauce. So what I'll do, I'll just grab this and I'll just pour this over here, because I need that frying pan again for the rest of the meatballs. I'm just gonna put this away for a little bit, and this is for the sauce. So what goes into the sauce: flour, milk, roasted beef base, bouillon, and a vegetable one. So we have both beef and vegetable, pepper, salt, some Dijon mustard. What we're going to be making is what's called a roux. And that's a French word for thickening up the sauce, basically. And how you do that is you use a lot of butter. I have some already in there, but I'm gonna add more. Why I took it from the pan is because I want to get that great taste from the meat that was in the pan from the meatballs. So I just added a little bit more butter. So we're gonna get the butter in there. Oh, got a little butter in my cleavage. Oh, one thing I forgot that also goes in there, it's soy sauce, which is super unusual because Sweden hasn't really had soy sauce for that long. But you know, it goes in there. So how you do a roux is you basically mix butter and flour together in a pan on heat into a something that looks kind of a little bit like a dough, and you pour milk over it. And how I know how much milk to use is basically just freestyle it, because some people like a thicker gravy, some people like a looser gravy, so you know, it's all to taste. The roux is also kind of, you know, you put as much butter as you want. You do have to have a good amount of butter in there because you have to mix in the flour properly, so you can't have dry flour in there. So what you basically just do is wait until this thickens up. While you're waiting until it thickens up, you put your little vegetable bouillon in and your beef stock or beef bouillon. I use a little bit, not too much, because it might get too salty if you use too much, so you gotta think about that. And also taste the sauce before you put in the salt, because you do have quite a bit of bouillon in there, so it might get salty. And you also have the soy sauce, and the soy sauce itself is salty. So just be aware to taste the sauce before you put salt in it. I'm gonna get my little spoon here, my little tasting spoon. I just basically dip it in there. Not too bad. It has to hang out for a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper. Definitely salt. I'm actually gonna put in a little bit more of the soy. I like it a little bit more salty than it is. I'm gonna put in some Dijon mustard. Oh, it was going everywhere here. There we go. Not too much, just a half teaspoon. I'm gonna dry off my spoon so we don't double dip. That's awfully nice gravy. Put a little bit more of the soy just to get that nice color. So here we have it. Here is the gravy for the meatballs. And we are going to check on the potatoes. And how I check my potatoes, I use a little skewer and I just go like this to see if they're soft. They're almost there. I'll probably give them 3 minutes. So in 3 minutes, we're making mashed potatoes. Now it's the time for the mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are my favorite. I can't eat them right now because I'm on a cut for my competition, so I'm very sad. But I've poured all the water out. Here they are. I'm gonna pour them in here because we're gonna have the smoothest potato mash ever. What goes into my mash? A lot of butter. And I actually like whipped cream, or heavy whipping cream, sorry. And it goes, when I do mashed potatoes, I don't put salt on my potatoes when I'm boiling them. And that is because I kind of want to taste the salt when I'm making the mash. You pour cream in there, you put butter, milk, whatever you like, and sometimes it becomes more salty or less salty. So that's why I just decided to do it after the fact. I'm gonna start with some salt. You do have to have a lot of salt in there, but I start with a generous amount and then I'll work my way through. So I will use my KitchenAid to make the mashed potatoes, and that is just because I like a really smooth mash. You can use, whatever you like, fork, potato masher. But I am using this machine here. As you can see, it just makes for a nicer, smoother mash. I love a really nice mashed potatoes. Really nice mashed potatoes we have here. Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna push it back down here. A little spatula, just so I can get all the bits and pieces. So I'm actually going to do a little taste test here. Definitely a little bit more salt. I do like a lot of salt in potatoes. So we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit more of it. A little bit more of the cream so it's not as thick. All right, here we have our phenomenal mashed potatoes. See how smooth that is? Like a baby's bum. And now all we have left is to plate our beautiful meatballs, so stay tuned. So here we have the finished product. Mashed potatoes, Swedish Ikea meatballs, gravy, and lingonberries. The lingonberries you can actually get at Ikea and Whole Foods. And it's a must for this dish. So if you were making this for yourself, don't forget to get the lingonberries. This is what we're having tonight. And I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you'll learn how to cook these beautiful Swedish meatballs. Stay tuned for my next video, and I am going to teach you how to make Swedish pancakes. So stay tuned for that, and have a wonderful day. Sunflower.